Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the First Impressions.
Initial First
Impressions on the Scratch the Track podcast, presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I'm the Dude, sorry.
And I'm Grim, and today we are here to speak about Medicine at Midnight, the new Foo Fighters album, and a champagne toast for the first dual side-by-side in studio.
Live, uncut.
Yeah, no headphones.
Nothing. No FaceTime, no delay. It's amazing.
I didn't even have to do the counting.
When it hits your lips, it tastes so good. So we're so happy that you guys are here. Today, we have a pretty cool album, we think, because we've only heard it once and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
Once and a half. But why don't you introduce the album, my friend?
Well, Medicine at Midnight by the Foo Fighters.
Oh,
yeah. But, not having... like growing up with this album or anything. We just want to see what we're first thinking, what our initial first feelings are.
Yeah.
So, 10th studio album by the Foo Fighters.
Which is pretty wild. And we may have a new episode coming out about the Foo Fighters. It could be one of the earlier ones coming out on Wednesday. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is their 10th. Dude, I have to fully admit, I've really only been familiar with, I think they're probably their first couple. Those are the ones I'm deeper into.
Yeah, those have always been my favorites. I mean, I've heard a handful of stuff that I thought was really good off the later ones, but nothing really grabbed my attention, I guess, to the same level as that one.
Those albums, yeah, definitely. So I'm
mainly self-titled and Color and the Shape.
Yes,
just to throw it out there.
Those are pretty solid in our opinions.
Yeah,
this and for people who haven't been here before, what we basically do is we just give the album a quick listen, and this is our initial reaction to it. We haven't had any time with it. It just came out on Friday. This episode's coming out on Monday, so we have plenty of time to digest.
Too early to scratch.
So that's why we do a little shorter one. I think for me, the first thing that actually stood out when I looked at it was it only has 9 songs.
Yeah,
and it's under 37 minutes, so it's fairly short. It's
probably good vinyl release. Good vinyl.
It is a quick listen.
Yeah, it was.
But I think. Yeah, I mean, just right off the bat, to me, for the most part, the album is fairly upbeat.
Yeah.
Good, obviously good production because, I mean, it's the Foo Fighters and can do whatever they want, but very well produced. I don't know. Is there anything that grabbed you right away that you noticed?
Well, the kind of like the poppy sound, right? And I guess having not read about it prior to doing this, I'm glad I didn't, because then I had no expectations going into it other than it was, a new album. But yeah, the poppy sound kind of grabbed me. I didn't dislike it by any means. It wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And sometimes I struggle with sort of bands sometimes that I feel like, that I followed during a younger period of my life. I won't say maybe the band has changed. I think I've changed.
Well, yeah.
And so that's why I think I identify maybe, I'm sure they have too, with some of the earlier stuff. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what other people think, comparing this to some of their earlier work.
Yeah. And once I had listened to it and I was kind of thumbing through things, I saw mixed reviews on it. Some people, had a more negative description of it. I guess the kind of overwhelming theme or something that I picked up more than once was that there are bands who are kind of built, or bands or artists built on constantly changing and reinventing their sound. And then there are bands who are just like stable and
they're really good at what they do.
and that's what people said about the Foo Fighters, but I don't think there's any reason they shouldn't do something different if it doesn't work. But so I guess to kind of get into it, I noticed right away in the first sound that there was like a heavy use of just different background vocals that I didn't expect, primarily female ones.
The female ones on the
and
first
the drums, I really did like the drum sound a lot. It just sounded big, and so apparently they recorded this in this, like what they described as a haunted mansion. Dude, it sounded like they were just in a big open room.
Yeah, dude, that was kind of a trippy story. How what did you say? They would like come in and
guitars were detuned supposedly, and tracks were in the sessions that weren't there.
Check this out. They would open up their Pro Tools sessions. There would be empty tracks that was just kind of like a microphone
going in a room
that was just turned on into a room. Like, dude, that is very creepy.
I'd turn that up, and Lizzie, you'd probably hear voices in there, like little whispers.
I know, you were smart.
But I thought that was cool. So the house was in Encino, California. And one thing I thought was cool is they apparently caught something like unexplainable event on video, but they can't share this video because they signed an NDA with the homeowner because they're trying to sell the property. Yeah. So
yeah, that could drive the price down.
Yeah,
it definitely could.
So,
yeah, I think, for the most part, again, this album is 9 songs. 3, as a lot of bands seem to be doing now, they're releasing a lot of songs before they actually release the album. Now, this one, they released Shame, Shame, No Son of Mine, and Waiting on a War, which is a third of the album. I know other bands have done more. I'm trying to think some of the previous... The
Flaming Lips, they did a lot of it.
Did they do like
it was
half
like
the album?
Yeah,
it was
least.
almost like half the album on their American Head, I think. And so nothing overly like jumped out to me. Like listening to it for the first time, I didn't say, "Oh my God, I can't wait to put it on again."
Yeah,
and really get into it. But I definitely will. I think the album itself is more upbeat. Now, there's 2 songs that I guess you could say a little more somber or melancholy, and the 2 would be Waiting on a War and Chasing Birds. They were a little just kind of slower. I want to say
Waiting on a War had a transition. I think it got a little heavier.
It did, but it starts off pretty acoustic. And to me, and I think I said this to you while we were listening to it, it really felt like they were kind of trying a little too hard to kind of like pull out your heartstrings, right? To pull those emotions out of you and make it, you feel that feeling. It just didn't do it for me right away.
Yeah.
I did like the other songs that are sort of upbeat.
Me too. The female backing vocals were very strong throughout it, and there was one time where they were used in such a way where I think we were saying to each other, like, I can't tell if that's a synth or that's a vocal.
I want to say, was that on the last? Don't quote me. I want to say it's on Love Dies Young, but I'm not 100% sure.
Not sure.
But so, listen for that. We thought it was the vocals. I thought we kind of landed on
and
here.
I really like the way they use like alternate percussion or there's just stuff and it sounds distant and in the back.
Yeah.
And they did it on several songs. I mean, I made a note of Shame, Shame, Holding Poison, I don't know. I thought it was cool. And on Holding Poison too, I did like how they just had a real like broken, chopped up beat to it. And I thought that kind of broke it up instead of just like your standard straight ahead rock beat.
Yeah. Now and I've seen it too. What is Sonic Highway?
Sonic Highways.
I don't fully remember from because that was also a different kind of album too, the way they recorded it and stuff. But I would be interested to learn more about the recording process and the writing process of this album. Is it mainly, Grohl just bringing his songs in?
As far as what I read after listening to it, it sounded like he brought stuff in and then everyone kind of began contributing. And that's not to say other people didn't write stuff, but that just is what I gathered from it. But everyone in the band is credited as a producer,
right? Yeah.
And then they had additional production from Greg Kirsten, who I guess is a pop producer and has done stuff with like Adele, which makes sense to get his kind of sensibilities if that's the sound you're going for.
It definitely does. So I'm just looking here, additional musicians, Violet Grohl. So I believe that's probably his daughter. She must have put in some background vocals there. But there are definitely, there's some people are credited as, with the cello, strings, violin.
I again like Omar Hakim's addition of the percussion because that stood out to me and just kind of sprinkled in throughout the album. I really thought that was a nice touch, and I don't know why. That's one of those things like, to me, it can make or break a song. Like, dude, we'd always talk about the claves and the distance on a Paranoid Android. That it's just you can never get rid of that part.
Right.
Which is the famous cowbell sketch. That's kind of what
you cannot unhear it once you hear it too. It's always there. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. But man, if it was missing, you'd be like,
I know
something's missing.
Yeah,
something's missing.
This is definitely a cover
exactly.
So
So overall, my initial first impressions are, I think it's a decent album. I would, recommend giving it a listen or two. For me, nothing jumps off. I was going to say, nothing jumps off the screen, but nothing really overly stood out to me. Again, at only 9 songs though, it's something, you can definitely give it a few listens and see if anything kind of, pops out for you.
Yeah. I just tend to, and this is short-sightedness on my part, I guess, but I just tend to favor that early sound of theirs so much that
it's hard.
And some of the other stuff that Dave Grohl is involved with seems to have like more edge, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Like Them Crooked Vultures, for example, what he did with Queens of the Stone Age, and I like that edge. And but then there's the other part where I really want to like the Foo Fighters a lot because he seems like such a cool guy.
Yeah, he does. Seems like an awesome dude. Like, let's hang out. Let's have some cocktails. Let's have some fun. Let's just talk music. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that wraps up our first initial impressions of Meditative Midnight. Let us know what you guys think below.
Yeah.
Right? Like, subscribe, and comment below. All right. Time to go. The Dude and Grim Show.
Scratch a Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by Moore and the Tims. Copyright 2021, The Dude and Grim Show.